Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? I decided late at night that I would hop in and answer a question that somebody got me or somebody sent to me. I got a question in which somebody asked, what were the things that made you propose to your wife? What were the things that made the difference between somebody that a guy would want to date versus somebody that a guy would want to marry? So what I did was I did a survey from a lot of men and a lot of husbands, grown men, asking them what makes the difference. What's the difference between a wife and a girlfriend? And so I'm going to break that down to you. I'm going to give you my reasons, and then I'm going to read what the other brothers were saying. So we're going to get started right now. Buckle up your seatbelt, hit the thumbs up button. We're going to get started on drboystv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. If you're not Black and intelligent, you may want to leave. This is not the place for you. But if you are Black and intelligent and you put the Black community at the top of your priority list and you're willing to do whatever it takes to make your community better, and you are part of that talented 10% that I'm looking for, put a hashtag B1 in the chat. I don't want all Black people here. I'm not trying to be popular with Black people. I'm trying to be correct. So I want the talented 10th to say your name. Put a B1 in the chat. Hey, Anita and Lisa and Kara and Linda and a lot of other people in here. Let me see. I see somebody named Fina Adam. I got to block that because that looks like spam. Wayne, what's going on? Magically Me. Wayne A. Solomon says, evening, Doc. Good evening, brother. Good evening. All right. So let me just hop in here. Now I'm going to do this real quick. And I did it because the good Lord told me to do it. And I'm going to share some information with you. I don't know if you guys know this, but my first book that I wrote, or actually scratching my second book, my first book was called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About College, because I wanted, at that time, I was a college professor at Syracuse University, and I wanted Black students to have the secrets to making straight A's in college. I was a straight A student in college. I was terrible in high school. I was a horrible student in high school. And I got to college and I blew it away. I was the #1 Black student on campus. And I also was the #1 finance student, even amongst the white people and everybody else. I almost got 3 bachelor's degrees in 4 years while working a full-time job. And I was a baby daddy at the time. I'd actually had my daughter. So I was paying child support, working full-time, and still almost got 3 bachelor's degrees in 4 years. I was only about maybe 6 credit hours short of the 3rd degree, but I did have a triple major and 2 bachelor's degrees. So it was easy for me. So I wrote that book. And then another book that I wrote once I became a scholar in finance was a book called Financial Lovemaking. And Financial Lovemaking was a book that I wrote to really talk about the ways that love and money kind of intersect with each other, and to really help men and women kind of understand just how money matters in every area of your life, how money makes a difference in everything you do. Most of you, give me a yes or no if you know what I'm talking about. Most people, the reason they get up in the morning is because of money. If they live in a certain city, they'll live there because of money. Or if you say, well, why don't you go live somewhere warm? They'll say, well, I can't move there because of money, right? So what I learned early is that money is a great tool to help you become successful, help you find your happiness in life. But it's also a great barrier if you're not able to to manage that, to figure that out, right? So I figured out that the best way to be successful as a Black person, in my view, is to form a good relationship with money, where you are able to make money and get the money that you need, but also to understand how life interacts with money, all the different ways money and life and love interact. And you'd be amazed, what I found in my research. And so here's what I wanted to kind of address. I had some people ask me recently, because, I just married Alicia not too long ago. And the wedding, the whole wedding videos at drboystv.com, if you want to take a look. And, and I know it's controversial. People are like, well, why would you show, that video? It's because I believe in Black people. I believe in love. I believe that we need families. I believe that we got to find a reason to come back to each other. I'm not a fan of, when brothers are like, oh, Black women are garbage, I'm gonna go get me a white girl. I can't relate to that. Doesn't mean I'm going to hate you for it. It just means that I don't understand how you could throw all black women in the toilet. It bothers me. And when I hear black women throwing all black men in the toilet, or Meghan Markle goes to marry some guy across the sea, some redheaded white boy whose family, made its money by stealing from black people. That's not something to celebrate to me. I don't get excited about that. It doesn't mean I'm going to make fun of you. I have people in my own family who chose not to marry black. But I think at the end of the day, if you want to have a black community, you got to find a way you got to find your way back to each other. If you can't find your way back to each other and build solid units called families, then it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. And somebody says your daughter's with a white man. Absolutely. My goddaughter, who is like my daughter, she happened to marry a guy who's European. And I didn't tell her not to do that. I don't tell people who to love. But I will tell you that he shows respect to the family. I'm the patriarch of the family. And so white people don't bother me. Let's just be clear. White people don't bother me. White supremacy bothers me. White people don't bother me. Racism bothers me. I don't have a problem when a white man's in the room. Most of the time when a white man's in the room with me is because he's trying to come work for me. It's not because I'm not begging him for no jobs. I'm not asking for his approval. I'm not asking for his permission to do anything. I don't fear a white man in my space. So I want to make that 100% clear. Anybody who thinks that because the platform's pro-black, that means you're anti-white, well, that's kind of a ridiculous sentiment to begin with. Being pro-black doesn't make you anti-white. And I think that so many black people are used to white people running things, right? Controlling things. Like you got a lot of guys that, guys that claim like, oh, I'm an alpha male. Well, an alpha male means you control your environment. And I know a lot of brothers who don't control their environment. They don't even control where they go to work every day. That's why I tell you, for a black man, the best thing you can teach your son to do is teach him to have his own business. Teach him to have his own business, how to make business deals, how to invest in real estate, how to get money, how to be successful. Because I don't care, how loyal a woman is. She has a hard time. It's really hard work for her to be loyal to a man who cannot go out here and fight and cannot go out here and win. Seriously, that's like asking a man to be super attracted to a woman who doesn't do her hair, who doesn't take a bath, who wants to weigh 400 pounds, who farts every single day. He could try his hardest to love a woman like that, but it's going to be really, really difficult to love through all of that. And he's going to be attracted to, a woman that keeps her stuff together, right? So the same thing is true when it comes to men. Men who don't fight, men who are not reliable, men who are not solid, are not going to get attraction from females, and they can get mad, and that's what you see a lot of times when you see in the manosphere. You see frustration, you see angry men, who are the male equivalent sometimes, not in all cases, but in some cases they're the male equivalent of angry feminists. You ever see angry feminists that just hate men and think men are garbage, and it's because that man just didn't love you because you were such a bitch that he walked away, right? Well, you get men like that. You get men that are bitches too. And that woman walked away from you because you're a bitch, right? So men have to understand what's real and what's not. And I think that, at the end of the day, we got to know what it means to step up in our best selves and do our best in order to form healthy relationships. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button. If you haven't done it yet, please do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my 5 reasons why I chose to marry my wife. I'm gonna start with me, but then I'm gonna read what the brother said on Instagram. I took a survey on Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. We have lots of intelligent conversations there. If intelligence, I know intelligence isn't the most popular thing in the Black community, but that's our thing, and we're not walking away from that. So if you're into intelligent conversations, feel free to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. I'm gonna try to put it on the screen if I can find it. Well, there's my Twitter. How about that? Follow me on Twitter. That's another place where we have good conversations. I'll pull up the Instagram later. All right, so here are my 5 reasons why I married my wife. Now, mind you, when a man chooses a wife, I guess there's a difference between a man that chooses when he has no other options versus a man that has a lot of options. And I met women, they were around, things happen or whatever. But the question becomes, what makes that difference? And I bring this up because I'm really talking to a lot of the young people, especially young women who are not clear, who don't get it, right? Who get mixed signals from men. Maybe your uncle, your father couldn't share these things with you. That's why I throw myself in the fire. I know I see guys coming in and tell you were just a big old simp, whatever. I deal with all that because it doesn't bother me. If I was really a simp, I guess it would bother me, but I know I ain't no simp. I mean, I'm probably more successful than you'll ever be. So I'm okay with that, right? Like, that's fine. Like, say whatever, like that makes you feel better. But I do that because I feel like young Black people need They need somebody that's going to have a counter narrative. Like, I really feel like our young people need to hear from an older black man who's got some goddamn sense. Like some of this stuff that people say online is just stupid. It's crazy. It doesn't work. It's going to lead you down the pathway to despair. And I'm like, okay, what can I share that I know really works, that will actually make sense, that will actually work for people? And so here's the deal. One of the things I think that gets confused is I think women get male attention confused. Like, there's male attention that men will just give you because you're cute, right? And that's easy, right? Anybody can get that, right? A woman doesn't have to be high quality to get male attention for having a nice booty or showing her boobs or whatever. Like, everybody gets that. Then there's like the attention you might get where maybe you have a relationship, like you're dating or you become a girlfriend or something like that. Now that means that there's more there, in terms of substance, where the man's like, okay, I can really be around this woman for a long period of time. That was, at least in my experience, that was how I made that differential. If you were my girlfriend, chances are you understood me better. You were probably smarter, because I'm not a stupid guy. Like, I have a lot of deep thoughts, and I need somebody that can handle that, right? And so I'll have these deep conversations with the person that's next to me. But then it's like, well, what makes that difference between the girlfriend and the wife? And because there was a girl I dated a long time ago who I liked a lot, who was a gorgeous woman, who was awesome in every way, very intelligent, everything. And I remember she asked me, she said, why wasn't I good enough? Like, why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't you want to marry me? And I felt bad. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, but I said, it wasn't that you weren't good enough. You're definitely good enough for somebody, right? Like, you will find a husband one day, but the problem is that you can only pick one, right? You can only pick one. So if you are a person that has a lot of options and you can only pick one, well, it's like the Olympics, right? When the Olympics happen, there's going to be, 8 really fast sprinters that are going to line up for the finals of the 100-meter dash. All of them are fast. All of them are great athletes, but only one can win, right? So it kind of came down to like, okay, what's the difference between this person I want to propose to? The woman I was definitely, happy to simp for this woman. I was happy to get on one knee and tell her how much I loved her and all this other stuff, versus somebody where it's like, okay, you're cool, I can hang out with you. So the 5 things that came to mind because I can really tell you what I want. Part of being happy, just a little secret on happiness, is first, do the self-exploration. You want to have a lot of self-awareness to figure out what makes you happy and what doesn't. And, if you don't have that, then you don't know. You'll just kind of go through life chasing all these things that make other people happy. Like, you'll chase money because everyone tells you money's going to make you happy. And then you'll get a bunch of money and you'll be like, damn, I'm still not happy. Well, it's because you don't have knowledge of self. So knowledge of self is really important. So most of the time, if I want something, I can tell you exactly why I want it. I can literally make a list, right? So a few things that came to mind when it came to my proposing to my wife was, one, I wanted to marry a woman that I felt was irreplaceable. Like, my question was, in my head, if I left this situation, if this woman walked away tomorrow, do I feel like I could replace her? Sure, I've met beautiful women around the world, lots of interesting women everywhere. This was a woman where I felt like, okay, if this one's gone, I'm going to regret it. Like, I'm going to wish I had this one back. Like, I'm not going to be able to be like, oh, I met somebody better, or, oh, here's another one just like it. It was like, no, she had to be unique for me, right? And I think that's in the eye of the beholder. Like, different men or different people will have different measures of that. But that irreplaceability made me say, okay, I want to lock this in, right? And then the second thing was, I think a man has to be ready for marriage. Like, some men just aren't ready. Some men are still sowing their oats. Some men are busy, working on their business. Some men are just not, they just don't have a good perception of marriage. And, so maybe he's 27 and he's going to be a different guy when he's 37 and 47. If I could have, I knew Alicia when I was 27 years old. And if she had been available, which she wasn't, I wouldn't have married her at 27 because I wasn't ready to get married. Right. So a lot of times knowing if a man is ready is a big deal. It's just like if you having sex with a woman, if a woman is on her cycle or she's just not ready, she's just not in the mood. She just may not want to do it. She may be like, no, it's not you. It's not personal. She's just worried about her math test or she's just feeling sick that day. Right. So the same thing is true with men. I think a man has to really be ready before he makes a move. The third thing is I think you got to look at a man's culture. Where did he come from? What type of family did he come from? A lot of times if a man never saw another man, now pay attention. Now, this is real important. This is like Dr. Claude Anderson was explaining to you guys on this channel that you're in the middle of kind of a culture war. And one of the things about culture is that, if you have guys that literally have no, who don't have, commitment in their culture. Those guys, in my view, are not as likely to commit. So basically, if all the men look, I would look at that. If you look at that man and you look at the men that he's loyal to, the men that he learns from, right? If he has not seen those men stop and say, you know what? Yeah, I know I can have every chick everywhere. I know I can have all the women, but I want that one. That's the one. And I'm gonna tell everybody how much. Like the greatest way a man can show he loves you is if he tells everybody about you. And I can't emphasize this enough. I had a long relationship before this one. Y'all didn't know about that one because I didn't talk about it. It wasn't that I thought she was a bad person or I was ashamed of her. I just knew I didn't want to marry that woman. I said to myself, I will tell people about my personal relationship when I have met the one. Right at that time, I was like, she's great, but she's not the one. And I wasn't the one for her. She married someone else and it was okay. It's not, no hard feelings. Right. But this one was the one. Right. So you got to look at the man's culture. If he had no father at all, that is, I'm not going to say it's a strike against him because a lot of good people don't have a father in the house, but that does make a difference. That does make a difference. Me marrying Alicia, my father actually was the officiant at our wedding. If you go watch the video, which is on drboystv.com, you'll notice that my father was actually the officiant. He was the pastor who married us. And I learned marriage as the ultimate goal by seeing him being married to my mother for 47 years. Had I not seen that, I don't know if I would have gotten married. I would, because all I would know about marriage is not from watching it every day. People that watch it every day kind of think, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be. People who don't get to see it every day are the guys who say, oh, who would want to do that? Why would you ever want to lock yourself into a one person? Like, that's crazy. You could be out here, you out here simping when you could be pimping. You could be out here with all the women, all the blah, blah, blahs, right? And so I would just say, again, where the culture part comes into play is that because I also had a father who trained me about all the ways that men get in trouble, like with women, I learned, like, just because you can have all the girls don't mean you need to be chasing all the girls. Like when I went to Syracuse University, the first thing my dad told me was, he said, don't you F nothing on that campus. He said, don't you go F nothing on that campus. And there was another faculty member at Syracuse when I was there who did sleep with some students on campus. He was about my age. We were both young. We were like about 31 years old. So there'd be these young, 22, 23-year-old girls who thought they were grown or whatever. And they would flirt with the professors. They would kind of want the older men or whatever. I stayed away from that. Like when the young, college student wanted to sit in my office and tell me what kind of a woman she was, I would be like, no, we need to keep it all above board. I'm not even going to have anything that's going to be suspicious going on right here. Whereas this guy literally slept with, like a student in his class. And she was older. She was like maybe 23, 24. But it still ended up they hemmed him up big time. Those white folks had that dude on TV looking like he had a mugshot. Like, I think he got arrested or something. They had him slapped up on TV like he was O.J. Simpson. And I remember thinking, okay, my father was right. And so basically getting that kind of coaching, like manhood in many cases requires coaching. Like, this is just like a football game or something. If you have a coach, you're going to win the game. If you don't have a coach, you can end up getting hemmed up or getting caught up in a bad situation. So the culture matters. If a man has a father that was that committed to a woman and he saw that man that, let's say it's a strong man he looks up to, and he saw that man say, this is my wife. I love my wife. Don't mess with my wife. Then that's going to make him that kind of man. If he never saw that, then especially if his father was a weak man, like his father was never there, or his father was, just a ridiculous guy that he didn't respect, then he's going to, unfortunately, he will emulate some of that behavior. He'll say, why would I want to take responsibility? My father didn't take responsibility, so I don't need to take responsibility. Like, those things are taught, right? Manhood really is something that is taught. It's like a set of rules. It's like a code. It's like a set of principles. and some guys don't learn that. The next thing is the next reason why I married my wife, as opposed to doing the baby mama girlfriend thing or whatever it is that people might do, is besides being ready, remember, the age you are makes a difference, right? If I were 25 years old, I probably wouldn't have done it. If at 40 something, it's like, okay, yeah, you know what, boys, you've had your life, you've done certain things. Now let's create a different life, right? You've had that life, you know what that life looks like. Now let's create a different life that's more fulfilling at the stage that you're at. The fourth part is like no drama. Typically men, I believe high quality men, meaning men that maybe have a little bit of money, or they're doing well in business, or they're successful men. Now losers, I can't speak for losers. I'm talking about successful men. Most successful men I know, they don't want to be around a woman that's fucking crazy and full of drama. Like it doesn't matter why you're mad. It doesn't matter what you're upset about. If you don't know how to handle it in a way that is decent and respectable, then most intelligent men are going to stay away from you because they're very strategic. That's how they became successful. That's how they became rich. They became rich and successful typically, except for like crazy rappers or whatever. That most men in business or that are lawyers or doctors that became successful got there because they've been very disciplined. They've been very, devoted to their success. They've been very strategic. They know what to double down on, what to avoid. And so if you come in and you're supposed to be one of the biggest investments of his life, and you have moments of crazy where you just decide that you just want to go off the deep end and cut somebody's tires or, bust a hole in the wall, you might have every explanation in the world for why you did it. But a lot of men I know are going to be like, I'm not signing up for that. I'm not signing up for any of that. I'll give you an example, because sometimes women end up I believe this is just like the world according to Boyce. It could be right. It could be completely off base from anything that somebody else believes. But I want to share it for those that actually think this perspective could help them. There was a beautiful, drop dead gorgeous woman one time I met. I met this lady. I knew her through social media, and I wanted to meet her in person. This was years ago, probably over a decade ago. And I mean, prettiest thing ever, right up there with Alicia. Like as far as looks, I met a lot of women that were up there in terms of looks, and I'm really interested. And she seemed like she might be B1, so it seems like okay, we got the same values. She seemed intelligent, she seemed to be doing well for herself or whatever. And so I went to her house and she was cooking dinner, and I got a call. I got a real important business call, so I had to take this call. And I was outside. I was like, hold on, I'll be right back. I gotta take this call. And she goes, hey, your dinner's ready. I said, okay, all right, give me 1 second. Hold on. And I'm taking this call, right? And I'm still talking to the guy. And then she comes out again and she says, hey, your dinner's ready. And I'm like, okay, give me 1 second. I promise I'll be in a minute. Then about 3 minutes later, she takes a plate and she goes, I was cooking your goddamn dinner. And she slams the plate on the ground and like throws this crazy temper tantrum. And I just sat there, right? And I was like, okay. All right. Okay. And I did not say a single word, because I'm thinking, I do not want to trigger this crazy woman. Like, thank you for showing me who you are. Because, like Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, you better believe them. Oh, I believe. I was like, okay, so you're signaling to me that you're crazy, and I definitely believe you. And here's the thing. This is what you got to understand. Like most of the time in business and in relationships, strategic people are not even going to tell you why they distance themselves from you. They're not going to tell you. Like they won't tell you why. Like I know people in Hollywood who are really famous. People where if I said their name, you would know exactly who they are. Where nobody will work with them, and they have no idea why. They have no idea why, and they don't understand that when they're not in the room, people are like, "Yeah, don't mess with her because she's crazy," or "Don't talk to him because he's ridiculous," right? And I think the same thing happens in relationships. I think that a lot of times we lose the job before we even put in the application, because smart people are watching you from a distance. I could tell you a ton of other stories like that, where guys who are really, and women too, this is not just male specific, but I'm talking from the perspective of a male. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I've had conversations with other men, and these are things that they can agree. Men, if you're in the chat, like give me a yes if you can identify with any of this. Like, because a lot of guys that come on here are doing well, they're educated, you got money or whatever, right? Tell me if any of this makes sense. But I think strategic people, especially when you talk about love or business, they don't just jump into stuff. Again, that's how they became successful. They became successful by avoiding the same landmines that have caused other people to fail. So strategic, intelligent, successful people who, make real money, who are doing real business, who are doing stuff on a big boy, big girl level, they can't jump into any of those situations. So sometimes they might watch you for 6 months just to decide if they want to even approach you about partnering with you on anything. I know I've been doing this for years. So I have people, friends on Facebook, they don't even know that I was thinking about reaching out to them about something, because I never did, because I saw something that was like, okay, I'm going to keep my distance. I'm going to stay over here. Right. So that's an example. Right. So that drama, I don't think quality men who really have stuff going on will marry a woman, will sign up for a woman that has drama. I don't think there's any excuse. I think that how you handle your disputes is extremely important. And I know personally that I know divorce is a reality. And the question is not whether the divorce occurs. That's bad enough. The question is, how do you handle that? Not how well you behave when you're getting along. How well do you fight? Do you fight in a way that escalates, or do you fight in a way that that tries to de-escalate? Right? There are escalators in your community because you have a lot of people that get easily triggered. Maybe it's a daddy issue or a mommy issue. Next thing you know, everything's going crazy and everything's falling apart, and you can't build with that. The last piece I would throw in there is, and it relates a little bit to the drama piece, but not completely. I think presentability to others. So when I wanted to marry Alicia, I visualized like, okay, if I'm sitting down and talking to my friends, is this woman going to represent me well? The kingdom of Dr. Boyce Watkins. And believe me, I'm sorry, I don't know if it sounds arrogant or not, but I see my last name as a kingdom. I see it as a legacy. I see this. I'm thinking about my great grandchildren 100 years from now, watching this video 100 years ago to know how we did things back in the year 2021. Is she going to represent the kingdom well? How does she present to others? Is she an asset or liability? So somebody who is annoying, rude, loud, or ridiculous or crazy or whatever, that's going to embarrass you is a liability, right? But a woman who knows how to really engage and be friendly and greets everyone with a smile, who's like a social butterfly, is an asset in the life of a man who is trying to figure out ways to connect with other people, right? Because people who are wealth builders tend to know the importance of relationships. So they're trying to form healthy relationships with people. Now, here's my problem. My shortcoming is that I can be a very nice guy, but I can also be a bastard. I know this, right? I acknowledge this, right? I know I say stuff where people are like, damn, I can't believe he said that. But just to be honest, I just don't halfway give a fuck because I have enough money. I don't seek validation. I just want to tell the truth. I want to tell the truth before I die. That's just how I honestly am. But that doesn't always work in the real world when you're forming relationships. And so I'll have people that are afraid of me because of things I said, or they just don't like me or whatever. But they'll meet Alicia. They'll be like, okay, I don't like Boyce, but I like Alicia. So that makes her an asset. This is what you call an uncorrelated asset that's added to your portfolio. Every person's personality, every person's dynamics can actually literally be modeled in a statistical model where you have something called volatility, and then you have correlation. And basically the same way you add people to your life is the same way you add a stock to your portfolio. Stocks don't just get added because it's a stock that's going to make the most money. You also add a stock because of the way it relates to everything else that's in your portfolio, like a basketball team, right? If I have a great center and a great power forward, and I'm deficient at point guard, if you present to me the best center in the country, I might say, I don't want that center because I already have a good center. He's the best player for sure, but I don't want the best player. I need the best point guard. Do you understand? Because a point guard will fill in the void on my team that I need right now. I don't need another center. So basically, when you're bringing people into your life, you have to think about sort of, okay, what's my long-term goal? What am I really trying to do here? What am I looking for here? And figure out the person fits. So for example, I know a lot of people, for example, I saw some guys that seem to not understand why someone like me would choose to be a stepdaddy. I guess they think stepdaddy is like a bad thing. And it's not easy. It is very difficult. Believe me, blended families require a whole set of ninja skills where you want to prepare yourself for that. And I've talked about that before. But part of it was, I really don't want to change diapers. I don't want to go have another baby at the age of 50 and start over at the age, at 0 and do 18 years of raising a child. I was like, no, your youngest is 10. That works because I love being a dad. I love children. I get along great with kids. I have a heart for children. I just really want our children in our community to do well. And I feel like my greatest contribution as a Black man is to be there for the kids that don't have a father or whatever. My kids do have a father, but there are kids I've mentored through the years that didn't have a dad. I used to be a track coach and I used to love it. And so for example, Jay says something like that's beta male energy. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm going to give you one more chance before I have to block you, but that's not beta. I don't know that beta male energy actually is when you have men that don't take responsibility for the community, when you have men that don't step up to the plate for the people that matter to them. Beta male energy to me is all these men that have to be covered for because they're not there when people need them. You know, you've got these women. Think about this. Some of y'all got these men in your own family where whenever something goes down, all the women end up scrambling to cover for him. He can't even pay his own child support because his mama's paying it. His baby's mama's handling everything on her own because the daddy ain't nowhere around. You know, and to me, the measure of a man, for those of you that didn't get good coaching on manhood, I will tell you a good way to measure manhood. I talked about this earlier. I'm gonna lay it out real clear, just real simple way. Is the question is this: are the people in your life better off because you're there, or are they worse off? Or do you add value to the lives of the people around you, or do you take value away? Are you an asset or are you a liability? So if you think about the Black community and the Black family like a basketball team. If I say, hey, I play for the Los Angeles Lakers, you know, and you have guys, for example, you have guys that will say, I'm an alpha male. I'm a man. And they don't really, and you say, well, what makes you a man? What's the criteria? They don't know what that is. They can't even really tell you. They just say, I'm a man because I said I'm a man. Okay, but so usually it'll be something superficial. It'll be like, I'm a man because I drive a big truck and I have tattoos and I smoke cigars and I drink whiskey, right? That doesn't make you a man. Or I dip my penis in any woman that walks by. All those things are just these superficial things that determine manhood. A man really even doesn't even have to tell you that he's a man. To me, manhood, based on what I've seen in terms of the role you play on the team, is, you know, the question, is the team better off because you're there? Can your teammates rely on you? So if I say I play for the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Okay, I do. Okay, so I'm a great player for the Los Angeles Lakers. What's the criteria? Okay, when LeBron passes me the ball, am I able to get the ball into the hole, or do I give the ball to the other team? When I'm playing defense, am I a shot blocker? Am I a defensive stopper, or can teams just run right by me and score points? Do I even show up to the game? And so you have a lot of men that will say that they play for team Black people, but they don't even show up to the game. Like if a Black woman's getting beat up in a hair salon by an Asian guy and you're sitting there holding the camera and laughing about it, then you're not a man. You're not a team player. You're not adding any value to the situation. You're not helping. You're not there for anybody, right? So to me, the number one criteria, if you want to know what the Boyce Watkins measure of manhood is, the question is very basic. Are you there for the people that matter to you? And a lot of you could probably point out examples of men in your own families who are not reliable, where other people have to cover for them, other people have to make excuses for them. Their children cannot depend on them, and where I come from, that's not really manhood, And so I think Jay. It looks like Jay is probably from the Kevin Samuels group. I see you, man. I see you. The poor guy. He doesn't know what manhood is. He's probably just repeating something he heard somebody say. He says, beta male is a man who walks on eggshells, AKA go along to get along. I don't disagree with that. I agree. I don't walk on eggshells. So fuck you. So so here's the thing. Here's what I'm saying to you in general is that, you know, when you're talking about relationships and you're talking about what it means to like kind of be with a man, I think that simple criteria is where you want to start. You know, is the family better off because he is there? I know men that, you know, will be there, but maybe they're high and drunk all the time. So people can't depend on them. They're bringing no money, no resources to the table. You know, you say, hey, we need $300 to cover the rent. He can't come through. His mama comes through better than him. That should be an embarrassment. That's an embarrassment for a man when your mama is saving you and your mama got to be the man of the house because you were never taught to be that man. When you talk about children, got children just all over the place. Children like, where's daddy? I got beat up at school today. I was looking for my daddy to come help me. My daddy wasn't around because my daddy's not a man, right? So that's the question. Like, is the team better off because you're there? Because I can say that, you know, when I look at my family, I can think of at least 20 different things that I deliberately and intentionally do to add value to this household. You know, I know that the children are safer because of me and also their dad. Their dad's a great guy, right? I know that my woman can do more things because I'm there, whether it means I have provided resources to help get it done, or it means I babysat the kids so that she could go and do what she's got to do. Maybe it's a matter of being there for emotional support. So I think you got to kind of call that out. I think that that if you, especially ladies, if you're looking for the right man to kind of marry, I think that a man who understands that is probably the best fit for that. And that really is culture. So I think a good question I would ask if I was a woman looking to decide what kind of man I wanted to marry, I would look and say, okay, who taught him manhood? And ask him what his values are when it comes to manhood. And so if he says, well, I learned manhood because I watched Kevin Samuels videos, I don't know how that works. I don't get that. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that if Kevin told him, and I don't know if Kevin said this, and I don't watch his videos, but if he said that, that women with children are worthless, or that, that you're only high value if you look a certain way or make a certain amount of money, then I would kind of sort of just process that and just decide if that's the energy that works for you. Right. Because I can also tell you this, too. Some of that energy is not really masculine energy. It's fake masculine energy that's actually masking feminine energy. Because masculine to me means that you can critique women without becoming bitchy in the process, without attacking every woman that walks by, without almost talking about women like they're your competition. Women are not your competition. Women are supposed to be your teammates. They're supposed to be your partners. So if you're LeBron James, let's say you're a true alpha male and you're trying to lead the Lakers to a championship, and you got a teammate who isn't playing right, you can go to your teammate and say, come on, man, you could do better, right? Because he's your teammate, but you're on the same team. Now, if you go up to him and you punch him in the face and break his legs, like, so he can't play anymore, like, you're not treating him like a teammate. You're not making him better. You're making him not want to be around you anymore. And so I think that sort of like that idea of talking about women like they're competition, like F all these women, these damn black women, these black women ain't nothing. Do you need to do all that? Like, is that all necessary? Or could you just say something that would be more honest to say, some of the women that I see are not acting like queens. They want to be called queens, but like I'm gonna tell you, like let's talk about like that bonnet conversation, right? Anybody saw when Monique was talking about talking about sisters wearing bonnets to the airport? Now, here's the thing. I don't feel it's my job as a man to tell women not to wear bonnets. I just don't give it. I don't care about that much about bonnets. But I will say that it would probably be a shocker if I were to marry a woman who would wear a bonnet in public. Like, that's kind of just a given thing, right? Like, my wife does not do that. And my daughters don't do that. They all wear bonnets in the house. But if one of my daughters decided to go out of the house and, with her bonnet on, then her mother would have a conversation with her about it. And her grandmother would sit her down and be like, you're not going to do that. I wouldn't have to say anything, right? I wouldn't have to say anything. And so I think that there's certain conversations that men should have with men, women should have with women. And then there's conversations that men can have with women and women can have with men. But I think you got to remember who's your teammate and who's your enemy, right? White supremacy is your enemy. That's your enemy. I don't think the black man is not your enemy. Now, bad black men can be your enemy. I think that's okay. Like, so if you say specifically, I don't like these guys that want to be ignorant, that want to be, violent toward women, that don't respect women, I can hear that. But when you say all black men are a certain way, well, then what am I supposed to do with that, right? Where are we going with this? How are we going to have a productive conversation out of this? So I think the same thing should be true with the men. I think it's really important for men to be free to share whatever your preference is, like to say, look, this is appealing, this is not, and that's fine. But when you get to the point where you're kind of like consistently, you have a theme of black women ain't nothing, black women ain't this, black women ain't that, I don't really know where that's going to go. Like, if you're saying like, okay, now you have people saying like, this is why I'm going to marry a white woman. Well, then now you've gone too far. Now you've got to the point where you're taking the real enemy and you're making the enemy into an ally because you hate your teammates that much, which is ultimately going to destroy the team. It destroys team black people. It destroys the community. If all the men say, I want to go marry a white woman because black women ain't nothing. Right. So with that said, a few things I'll mention to you guys. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it yet. Thumbs up, share, subscribe button. I'm going to read a few of the comments that I saw from brothers that I thought were really good in terms of, what a man would look for in a wife versus a girlfriend. I think it's worth looking at. If you follow me at the Real Boyce Watkins on Instagram, you can read all the comments, join the conversation. I only want intelligent black people. If you come, any trolls get blocked because I want to have productive discussions that are going to lead to good outcomes. I don't want to just talk just to get attention. I want to talk so we can actually find solutions. So Shannon Stewart, who is a married black man, he says selflessness and support are really important. He says, when I have the honor of marrying couples, I oftentimes talk about the idea I'm having a person that's willing to give to you as much as you're willing to give to them. Yeah, I think that fits under what I call the, don't be an asshole theory. That just says, if somebody is just mean and nasty and evil, then I don't really know how you can work things out with a person like that, because then you're dealing with personality disorders and narcissism and, or like somebody who never apologizes. Like, who would ever want to marry somebody like that? So I think looking at a generally quality personality disposition is really important. I know sometimes women like men that have a lot of like, they like the arrogance and they like the big ego, but you got to be careful about that, because typically guys who have a big ego are really deeply insecure, and deeply insecure men can become violent. They can become very nasty. They can become narcissists and maybe never apologize and never do the work necessary to really build a healthy relationship. So next, so remember this: just because somebody proposes to you doesn't mean that that's a good thing. I mean, some people propose to you, better run. Let's see. If somebody says, when she inspires you to be a better man. Yeah, I think that's a good one too. Yeah, I forgot about that one. I saw a guy that made a funny joke, and he said, yeah, Alicia didn't marry him until he lost 100 pounds and got his teeth fixed. And I thought that was really funny. Actually, I proposed to her before I lost the weight and before I got the teeth fixed, but she did actually encourage me to reach out for the things I wanted. I'd always wanted to lose weight. I'd always wanted to do like dental work and stuff like that. And now people notice that I am better. Like, I don't know, give me a yes or no. Like, some of you have mentioned this, right? Have you noticed that I don't know, look, like I got the $1 million Tiger Woods smile now. I lost a lot of weight. I mean, before, that's the thing. Like, the single life is really fun, but the problem is that just because you enjoy it doesn't mean it's good for you. And it was probably going to kill me because my blood pressure was like insanely high. I was starting to look like Roland Martin. Like, it's like, shit, I don't want to go out like that. So really having that person to kind of say, I love you no matter what, but, let's really do this. Like, let's be accountable to each other. That's kind of cool. It's not as much fun all the time. Sometimes it's very frustrating. It's like, shit, I want to do what I want to do. Like, I really want to eat the pizza. I don't want to eat the fucking salad, right? But really part of wisdom as a man, especially for men that want to have longevity, that want to be successful. Again, I'm talking to ladies about, like, when you're talking about men, quality men, like men who really got some stuff going on, who really have big goals, who are real serious about their goals, they understand that gain doesn't come without pain, that to get to heaven, you got to go through a little bit of hell, that work is required, discipline is required. So you can't always have whatever you want all the time. So I've always known that. I knew to get my PhD, I had to work really, really hard for many, many years. I couldn't just do whatever I wanted every day. So to have somebody kind of hold you accountable and push you to be a better man, that's one of those things that a lot of women overlook, because everybody on the internet's got you caught up in, who's got the nicest booty and who looks the best in her dress. And those things do matter for sure at a certain point. But there's also that thing where you're like, my life is at a level that it never would have been if I wasn't with this woman. Like a really good woman she expresses the complete essence of her goddess-like black girl magic in her ability to nurture you into becoming the best man you could be. Like, when you look in it, and that is something that I think I'm really trying to formulate this thought. So I hope it comes out in a way that I'm trying to communicate it properly, because I think it's important enough for me to take a moment to kind of nail it. I look in the mirror, right? And I look at who I am as a person, not just physically, but in terms of just who I am as a guy, as a human being. And I know for a fact that if you took that woman out of the equation, I would not be that man. You can't replace that, right? And that's what makes a woman invaluable. Believe me, I've seen the big booties. I've seen the women with the curves. I've seen all the stuff that's out there. And that stuff ain't, honestly, I don't know. Like, maybe a woman's body and the sex and all that was valuable at one point, but now, the hoes have just flooded the market. Like, the hoes have flooded the market. So the price has gone through the floor, because you got Cardi B literally telling men that have money, and I have money. I'm an investor. I've been an investor for a long time. She's telling men that have money, if you show up with $50 and a bag of Cheetos, you can have all of my goodies that you want, that you possibly want. And the only qualification is that you have money in your pocket. And that can be very tempting to a man because we know the things that men want. But I think a mature man kind of gets to the point where he's sort of like, okay, those things are nice. I appreciate that. And I'm going to really imagine how great that would be. But I've kind of seen a little bit of that. And I kind of want something a little bit better. I want something a little bit more substantive. Like, yeah, I can eat the ice cream, but I kind of want a healthy meal. I don't want to sit there and just eat ice cream until I pass out, because I did that once and that just wasn't very much fun. And if I do that every day, I'm gonna get diabetes and die. Right. And that's the difference between the men that actually want longevity versus those men. A lot of these men that die young. A lot of men die young because we're rough on ourselves. Like we have an inner dog in us, to where you think about a dog that doesn't have any, like, has no order or discipline imposed on his life. Like, think about it. He's never going to take a bath. He's going to stink. He's going to get into fights and get beat up and cut up. He's going to go around and get all these female dogs pregnant. He's going to he's going to be eating all kinds of nasty shit that's out there. He's not going to be a healthy dog, right? So sometimes you kind of like, yeah, that I get all that. I get that. And I envy that a little bit. But maybe it's also age too. So maybe when you're 25, you want to do some of those things. But when you get a little bit older, you're like, I don't really want all that, because that's going to kill me or get me locked up or get me in a bad situation or turn me into a drug addict or an alcoholic. That's what happens to a lot of men that don't have any sense of purpose or any accountability to anybody. They can, if they're not careful, get involved in vices, right? Like they can end up sitting around drinking all day. I mean, I'm sure you know guys like that who, because they have nothing else to do and nobody there to talk them out of it, they just sit there with a bottle all day long. They just drinking all day long. Right. So I think that a man who wants to be a better man will allow a person in his life that will challenge him to become a better man. Not every man is built that way. Not every man is interested in that. Not every man's ready for that. And that's the other thing, too. When you're improving a man, I think a woman's role can really be to improve a man, right? To help him get to where he wants to be. But he's got to be ready for that. If I wasn't open to Alicia, kind of pushing me a little bit to do better, it wouldn't have worked. In order for me to lose weight, for example, I had to be open and really want to lose weight, right? If I was happy with where I was, then the best step for her would have been to leave me alone. But because I was like, I really don't like this. I don't like getting fatter. And she's like, okay, why don't you try fast? Why don't we go running? And she held me accountable each day to have me, do what I said I was going to do. It really made a difference. And I was really happy. I was like, okay, this is all right. Like, my life took an upgrade. So if you compare that, for example, to, because I did have a relationship before that one where she didn't bother me about anything. She let me do whatever I wanted. She let me eat whatever I want. And that was pretty cool too. She gave me a lot of peace, like a lot of just, like whatever, like, I don't care. Right. But that wasn't good for me though, because then I was eating, like, if you saw what I was eating then versus what I eat now, you'd be like, okay, you're not going to live that long if you keep eating like that. Again, a lot of these guys that die young, that these rappers that are dying like in their 40s and 50s, I think some of that comes from the fact that a man's soul gets deteriorated when he always gets to have whatever he wants. I think you get tired of that, and eventually you want something better. So let's see here. All right. So Amos, thank you for your donation. And those are in euros. So you must be in Europe. He says, thanks for spending your valuable time to share your thoughts with us. I benefit a lot from it. Good, man. I'm glad I can help you. I know that this stuff isn't popular, like this sort of what I think is healthy black talk, like saying, like, how do we actually find a way to get along as opposed to hate each other? That's not as popular. Like, I guess some people are addicted to toxicity. I don't want to be toxic. I want to actually say, how do you really take the time, you value yourself enough to avoid the bad apples in the community and really spot somebody good. And then when you spot that person that's good, how do you make sure you show up and you are the best person that you can be? You can't just demand that they give you what you want or that they are the person you need them to be. You got to be the person that they want to be. So when you meet that right woman, you need to be the right man for her. And you need to understand what that means. So for example, when people talk about simping, like, oh, you're simping for that woman, that type of term is, it's in a way I compare the word simp. I like drilling in on that because I think because I've seen that used a lot, and I know it's being used because people are just repeating it. I'm sure somebody said it on a video or something, because people make videos about me and I see them out there. I don't watch any of them, but I know that they're out there. And so the word simp used on a man, to me, is like a woman calling another woman a slut, right? That to me, that's like the male equivalent of the same type of energy, right? So if a woman gets a man and she's got the man that another woman wants, right? You've probably seen this, right? Where she's got the man and this other girl wants that man, or this other girl's jealous, and she'll be like, well, the only reason she got him is because she's a slut, right? Well, here's the thing that's interesting, right? When you talk about that term slut, we know that a woman who's a slut all the time is not going to really be valued by the world, right? Because you're taking something as valuable as your sexuality and you're just giving it out to just anybody who asks for it, anybody who walks by. That doesn't work out for you typically. Not to judge, but it just doesn't work out, right? But most women that are sophisticated understand the rule, and the men don't understand the rule. You know that rule: be a lady in the street and a freak in the bed, right? Right. So it's like, okay, it makes sense that you don't want to be a slut all the time, but when you meet the right man, are you willing to kind of be a little freaky with him? Are you willing to give him a pleasurable experience in the bedroom that doesn't make him say, gosh, I don't want you to be you ain't got to be Princess Diana all the time. Like, you ain't always got to be a debutante. Like, I kind of want that racy, sexuality in my bedroom. Right. So it's really like an on-off switch. Right. So to use that analogy and to go to the male side of that, right. When you use the word simp, I would say that maybe if you want to use that term, if simp means, honoring the shit out of a woman, like loving the hell out of her, and you don't care who knows it. If simping means I will buy you roses every day of the week if I have to, I honor you, I adore the living shit out of you, I put you above all others, right? Then the question to me with a man is, at what point, if you meet a woman that you really want, are you willing to simp for that woman? Like, most men, and this is about culture. This is what he was raised with. This is why, ladies, if you're picking a man that you think about marrying, you got to look at what kind of man taught him to be a man. If he's raised in a culture where he saw other men who typically, kind of did whatever they wanted and didn't really bow to much of anything, but then they met that woman and they were simping for that woman. Like, they're like, yeah, I'm not simping for anybody else, but that woman right there, oh, anything she wants, she's got it, right? If that's what simping is, if simping means just like, look, whatever you want, like I got money in the bank, that woman could literally go into my bank account and take every penny out that she wants to. Why? Well, because she's earned it, right? She's earned that status. And believe me, I'm her king as well. She simps for me too. And I think that good love, if you want to have the best love ever, find somebody that's really willing to simp for you and you simp for them back. Right? Love is not supposed to be something where there's one dominator and one person being oppressed. This ain't motherfucking white supremacy. Like, this is not the plantation. Like, why does one person have to be beating the hell out of the other person emotionally for it to make sense to you? Why can't you just say, I love the shit out of you and you love the shit out of me, and we just have a wonderful, wonderful circle of love where we both feel appreciated every single day of the week? Right. So I personally think that when you sort of saying things like simp, I would like to just get a deeper explanation. Like when people say that, I really am like, the scientist in me pops out and is like, what does that mean? Like, can you explain in detail? Like, what is a simp exactly? It's not a wimp, because I'm not a wimp. It's not a guy. It's not like a loser. Like, I'm not a loser. I'm more successful than you are, so I can't be a loser. So what is it about that word? Like, what does that really mean? Right? Because I hope it doesn't mean that you can't honor Black women on any level, that honoring a woman is somehow degrading to who you are. Because I personally think that manhood means that me humbling myself to you does not make me any less of a man. It actually makes me more of a man, because I've gotten past the immature aspect of ego in order for me to feel important. I don't need to feel strong by making you feel weak. I don't need to feel tall by making you feel short. I don't need to be the man. I don't need to be important by making you feel unimportant. So no, I can make you feel extremely important, and I can be important too. Do you guys know? Check this out. Let me give you an example of this. This is what I would call masculinity in a form that you might want to consider. So if you talk about Cornel West, like the first time I met Cornel West was in New York, and I met him at a restaurant, and we were going to do an event later on that day back in 2013. So I walked into this restaurant. It was in some part of Manhattan. It was a little tiny restaurant I'd never been to that was full of white people. And so I'm walking up and I'm sitting there. I'm excited because I heard about Cornel. I've been following him for years, and it was my first time meeting him in person, getting a chance to like really talk to him. And I said, and so I'm walking up, and the first thing he does is he gets up, he walks over, and he gets on in front of all these people. He gets on one knee and he bows and he grabs my hand and he like is on one knee in front of me, like honoring me. And all these white people are like, who is this guy that Cornel West is bowing to on one knee, right? And I just think about that because he's still Cornel West. Cornel West is still the man. Like Cornel West he's far more important to me, in my opinion. I mean, I'm okay, but that man is amazing to me, right? But I love the idea of kind of knowing that he can have his power and still have humility at the same time, right? Like I think humility is something that really goes a long way in relationships. And I think ego, which tends to be driven by you being triggered, like, oh, no, you didn't say that to me, or how dare you treat me like that, right? That ego is one of the things that can cause things to kind of go awry. So having that ability to humble yourself is important in all relationships, not just romantic. I'm talking about business and everything, right? Because a lot of ego, a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of people saying, getting triggered. That's what causes things to kind of blow up. Okay. So I'll read a couple more comments and then I'm going to go ahead and take off. Let's see here. Somebody says, let's see here. It's a lot that goes into the equation. Of course, she's got to love you, be able to manage a family, be able to meet, etc. But a major factor, especially in the last couple of decades, is the loyalty factor. It ain't easy to come by out of human beings, period. Yeah, loyalty is, loyalty is tough. I mean, there are some people, and I think you can get that from culture, right? If you talk to somebody long enough and watch how they manage their other situations, like I know which of my friends live by a loyalty code and which ones don't. So the ones who don't live by code, who, will simply just, be connected to whoever is beneficial in that moment. I know what it is, right? So that allows me to operate in a certain way. But then I've got other friends that are just like loyal, like they're following some sort of a law or rule, right? And I personally think that when you're talking about something like a marriage, somebody who has a code that they live by is easier to maintain a relationship with because they're not going to just run away because it's inconvenient or because it's hard, because now it's gotten hard. They're feeling a little bit sad. So they're going to just bounce out. I personally, when I make a long-term commitment to anyone, I look and say, okay, what other long-term commitments have you made? What other commitments have you seen in life? That really say I'm gonna tough it out. Like think about it. Think about going to college, right? Or let's say you go to college and you want to all go to medical school, and you got one student whose father and mother are both doctors, and they've been coaching them their whole life to say medical school is hard as hell. You're gonna have terrible days, but you cannot flunk out no matter what. And let's say you got another person whose family never went to college. And the whole family is like, man, college is for suckers. You don't want to go to college. Like college, why are you going to college? You can go work at Ford, right? Or whatever, and make $30 an hour, right? Well, what's going to happen in many cases is that when things get really hard, when you have that terrible day and you're flunking your test and the money's tight or whatever, the person who is there based on principle is typically going to be able to see through all that, see the long-term vision and stick it out. The person who's there and not really sure that they want to be there anyway is going to run away, right? So a person who's never seen the amount of grit and dedication it takes to love the same person for many, many years is not the person that you want to marry. That's not a person. That person will be a simp. There you go. The word simp is right there. Yeah, that person will be a simp because he's going to be a simp and a wimp. He's going to run away as soon as things get hard. Whereas a guy who says, I saw my dad do this, and I saw my dad love my mother even through the tough times. I saw my dad stick it out for the things that he believed in. I saw my father fight through things and accomplish things, or finish college and all this other stuff. He's the guy that's going to say, I'm going to do what it takes because my goal is not to just be comfortable every day. My goal is to achieve the goal. Right. And so basically now influential.tv, I'm gonna have to get you up out of here, man. When you talk like that, I have to block you out, man, because you're stupid and I don't want stupid people in my life. So let me get you up out of here, man. You have a good life. Everybody say goodbye to whatever his name was, influential.tv. All right. So because I ain't got time for the niggas. I only want to talk to the black people. Okay, so that's just the honest to God truth. I'm not here. I want to make that 100% clear. I'm not Martin Luther King. I'm not Barack Obama. I'm not trying to connect to everybody. I'm not here for the community. Being here is a privilege. It is not a right. So get that out of your head. I'm here to talk to the people that want to do better, those who are in the talented 10th, who really are trying to figure this thing out. Stupid people, just know, like, just if you want to be stupid and just watch, then just do that or leave. But if you come in here saying stupid stuff and you're distracting from the comments, then I'm gonna have to kick you out of here. And I hate to do that, but that's what we got to do. Okay. So because this ain't a popularity contest. We know we'll never be popular. I know I'll never be popular because the popular stuff is what's killing you. The popular stuff is why your families are breaking up. The popular stuff is why you're staying broke as hell. The popular stuff is why white people have their foot on your neck. I talk to black people who don't have the white man's foot on his neck. Most of the black men that roll with me are men who at some point will not have to get up and tickle a white man's balls in order to get a paycheck. The black men that roll with me are the ones who are going to build the strong families that will carry the community into the next generation. The black men who roll with me are not going to get shot up by a cop because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time or doing something stupid. They're going to be strategic. They're going to be intelligent. The black men who roll with me are not going to be broke because they're investing, they're building, they're planning for the future. So that's who I really want to talk to. I preach to the choir. I am a mobilizer. I am not a bridge builder. I can't build a bridge from smart to stupid because some of these people are toxic. Some of these people are infected. They're infected with the Negro version. They're infected with the Negronavirus, and you need to socially distance from some of these people because these people will fuck you up. These people will destroy you. Do you know? I'm not kidding. Let me tell you an example. Just today, one of my friends called me and told me that her nephew, who's being raised right, who's making good decisions and everything else, got murdered by some dumbass wannabe thug, 20 years old, who shot him because he was jealous because his girlfriend liked him. And the dude didn't even know the guy's girlfriend. Didn't even know the girlfriend. He saw the girl liking his pictures on Instagram, and maybe the girl said something to him. So he walks up to the guy and shoots him and kills him. Like, so I'm not kidding. Like, the Negronavirus is real. Like you really have to socially distance from people that are going to bring bad energy into your life. Some of these people are losers. I don't want to imitate losers. I don't want to be popular with losers. That is not my goal. The more popular I am with losers, the more I know I'm doing the wrong thing. So I'm not the teacher. I'm not the guy that's going to bring you along slowly. I don't have the patience for that. I want to talk to the people that need the motivation for you to set the trends and to be the leaders and the ones that other people will follow. Because I guarantee you, people like that, they don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. They just follow whatever's popular, right? And so when you are wealthy, when you and your children have $1 million in the bank and you're hiring, they're going to do exactly what you say. You will become the leaders of the community. Your families will, because you're going to be the ones that have the power. I know this. I know this because I've lived this. I've lived this. When I was in academia, most black scholars didn't want anything to do with me because I was too radical and I was doing this and doing that, whatever. But when I became rich and powerful and I was on TV and I was accomplishing all the things that they can only dream of, then suddenly they all wanted to be my friend. They'll talk shit about me behind my back, but they'll never say that to my face because they know I'm more powerful than they are. And that's how you win. Powernomics. I'm not kidding you. If you get power, then people will bow to you, even if they don't like you. If you have power, then even your enemies will respect you more than your damn friends. So go get some power, black people. Stop begging. Stop trying to fit in. Stop trying to be popular. Go get some damn power. And believe me, those little sheep ass sons of bitches will bow at your feet. So that's the boys' philosophy. And I gotta go. I gotta go upstairs. My wife is waiting for me. So I'm gonna go simp for my wife for a little bit. I hope that this conversation was helpful to you. Somebody's asking about Noma Langa. Why is Noma Langa no longer on this channel? I love Noma Langa. Noma Langa is from Africa, and she has a lot of strong opinions about marriage and family and lots of things actually that people can learn from. And so maybe I'll bring her back. But Noma's my buddy, very loyal, very good black woman. And so Noma is somebody who's always welcome to come back. So you guys have a good night. Please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button, and I will see you guys soon. So take care, and I'll talk to you later. Be good. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.